Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Self-love through freedom and connection. So feel free to connect to the brave never fall on these social media platforms. If you find anything of value in this following podcast, hit that like button, subscribe and share, and support the brave and bold tribe growing one purposeful soul at a time. How are you feeling? Take a moment to do a self-check-in for yourself. How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling spiritually? Are you feeling balanced? Are you still journeying on an intentional, purposeful path? How are you feeling? Balancing yourself is a healthy daily practice that will reliably keep you in harmony with your entire mind, body, heart, and soul. Clear your mind. Take a moment of silence for yourself right now in the moment. You are here now. How are you feeling? When you quiet your mind, you calm your soul. Silence. It is very powerful. One of the things I realized at a very young age, very young age, was that I knew the power and the benefits of being quiet, of being silent, of taking things in, observing. Silence, especially coupled with solitude, which means you just go someplace physically where you are isolated and you mentally get in your mind and you figure out whatever it is that's going on through that brain, piece by piece, line by line, story by story. Unravel that mystery playing in your brain. And when you can do that, it offers up so many benefits because you get to tap in to yourself. You find a place where you can feel completely free to be yourself, and you get the opportunity to explore yourself and to figure out some of the things that are on your mind, plan and repeat while you're with other people, while you're doing other things, while you're visiting other places. The greatest thing about silence is that it's very loud. I find that silence is one of the loudest things I can go to because I'm getting so much information. I get to quiet everything down and dive in to who I am. And the benefits of that are just enormous. They're so powerful. Finding peace and purpose and joy comes from that same place you'll find your silence and solitude. It's all within you. You are trying to tell yourself something. Listen. The vacuum of space is vast, empty, and silent, yet full of so many countless wonders, mysteries, discoveries, places to explore in the unknown. It is both dense, yet ever expanding, never going backwards. It's in harmony and connected. Every asteroid, comet, moon, planet, star, solar system, and galaxy, all connected, yet with unimaginable distances between each other, free yet connected. You are that vastness of space, free to be who you are in solitude, yet free to be connected in silence, free to explore yourself, to face the mysteries, to unlock the discoveries, to expand on your unknowns. Clarity and self-awareness are needed in order to grow in purpose. Your senses become clearer. You see clearer in silence. You listen better in silence. You feel better in silence. Life can be too often a chaotic, wild, sensory overloaded jungle metropolis. Being able to detach and center yourself is profound. For even in the center of the storm, you can find the center of yourself. To cancel out all of the noise, focus on your breathing, and shield yourself from the negativity that surrounds you. At your center is purpose, reminding you of who you are, a soul of purpose. Smile. You can always find peace, joy, and happiness within you if you stand firmly on your uncompromising purpose. The world needs you. You're valuable. No one can take that away from you. A Ronin's Way of Balanced Energy, Episode 4, Solitude and Silence. We are afraid. Everyone's afraid. Everyone has something they fear. One of the things as human beings all know, what is more awkward and uncomfortable than an awkward silence? An awkward pause when you're speaking to someone, or even if you're alone with yourself and you have nothing to do. Why do we feel uncomfortable in silence? Why is it that in silence we kind of have to tap in to our existence, to our consciousness, because there's nothing going on. No one's talking to you. You're not doing anything. You're just standing in solitude or sitting in solitude and you're quiet. Some people hate the very thought of that happening to them. That they'll have a moment or two throughout each day where nothing is happening. They don't know what to do with themselves. It forces them to think about things. They're not entertained or distracted by anything, any place, or anyone. They're just being. In Tao, which is what I follow, you learn that silence has a power to it. You learn that it's just as much connected to this world as the flowing water, as the sun rising and the moon rising, or the moon being there at night, I should say. It's constant. Silence is there all the time. People just want to put a shield up and block it instead of accepting it and looking into how could I benefit from silence, because we all see how we can benefit from the things that are loud. We all know how we can benefit from a loud television. That's entertainment. That's distracting us. We all know what it's like to go to a restaurant and it's noisy and bustling and everyone's having their conversations and the sounds of the forks and spoons clanging against the tables and the plates. We all know what that sounds like. We all know what it sounds like to drive in traffic. You can have the quietest car in the world. You still can feel the energy around you, and feeling things is just as much an auditory thing as actually a noise can be. Feeling can be even more intense because you're feeling it. That's why when you go to a movie theater, you're not only watching the movie, but you can feel the movie. You can feel it in the seats. It's surrounding you. You're in the movie. At least that's what they want you to be. They want you to lose yourself in the entertainment, into the loudness of the film. Nothing wrong with escapes. In fact, they're healthy. What if we can change the narrative and let's escape towards some place that's silent? Some place that's void of distractions. Some place that you cannot, at a moment's notice, say, I'm bored, let me fix the boredom by doing A, B, and C. If you can conjure up and create a scenario each day where you can detach and go and be in your own peace, to be in your own purpose, to find joy, I find it is something that you can do not only once a day, you can do it multiple times a day. In fact, you can do it almost any point in time. People think about silence and they immediately go to meditation. I have to have a quiet space where I can go and I can relax, quiet my mind, and I can find my peace. I'm undistracted. No one's bothering me. I turn my phone off. I got it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is actually very healthy, obviously. But what happens when you don't have that time to just say, I got 30 minutes to go and meditate? How do you find that? I believe deep inside of each person, there's a place you can retreat to that mimics that version of that created version of yourself being in that space that is more routine. What if you can go to that space when it's not so routine? What if you can go to that space in the middle of the chaos instead of reflecting on it later? What if you can go to that space before the chaos even comes? Those are things silence provides in so many beneficial ways. Because if you can learn to be in yourself and be comfortable with the fact that you can stand there and do absolutely nothing and be quiet and accept yourself for who you are and address what is going through your mind at that point in time, face it, not distract yourself from it, not hide it, not cloud it, not skew it, not let others influence it, but live it in the moment. It has a lot of benefits. That silence will show you things you've forgotten about. That silence will remind you of all the things you stand upon, or your values. It'll bring you back to that. You can ask yourself questions about how you feel. You can quiet yourself and listen to your body. How are you reacting to what's going on around you? Those things are very important. As a human being, we all have issues where we need to just dial it back a little bit, step back and accept our situations and not try to figure out all the negatives in the situation, but start figuring out those positives in that situation. And a healthy form of retreating back and being silent for a moment, that's your moment to ask yourself what you should be grateful for. That's your moment to tap in those memories where you were super strong, where you were empathetic, where you were helping people, where you were not making excuses, when you had met those goals, when you achieved those things in life that you were striving to get. And it's also a place where you can go back and say, I failed time and time again and I overcame them. Remember, you're grateful. You're grateful for your every breath. Retreating into that silence reminds you, yes, you are still here. You are still alive. You are still woke. You are still self-aware. And you still have shit to do. You don't have time to just sit back and allow the world to just beat you over the head with chaotic disruptions. That leads to very bad self-discipline. You're allowing the world to influence you in so many different ways that by the time you get home and it's time to go to bed, you often don't feel like you even know how you got through the day because you don't feel like you made any decisions. You don't feel like you answered all the questions you wanted answered. You don't feel like you were fulfilled. You don't feel like you were aligned. You don't feel like people listened to you. Ultimately, all that comes back on you. It all comes back on you. So instead of waiting until that after action report right before you go to bed, and you ask yourself all the things you did throughout the day, won't you have those after action reports periodically throughout the day? Taking a moment, stepping back, getting your breathing under control, and figuring out, okay, how do I feel? It's not only important to ask other people every day, how are you feeling? Which I recommend to anyone. Ask someone every single day, how are you feeling? You'll shock them because they're not expecting you to say that. No one asks people how they're feeling. In fact, I just talked to someone the other day and they said, hey, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing great. How are you treating life? And the person stood there and looked at me and was like, what? I said, how are you treating life? Isn't it the other way around? How's life treating me? I said, no, you're living your life. You should be treating life with you, not the other way around. And that's something that a lot of people are starting to pick up on more now, is that especially with the advent of the internet, and you can go out and you can get any information you want, you should be able to wake up every morning and say, you know what, Day, I got this today. You don't have me, I got you. I'll take care of you today, Day. Let me do the things I need to do today, not the other way around. And I start my morning out every morning with that notion that I got this today. I'm going to do this, this, and this today. The day is not going to do this, this, and this to me. If it tries to come at me, I have a defense mechanism. I can detach. I can center myself. I can balance myself. And if everything gets too noisy, I can retreat into myself in silence. And you can offer up that same solitude physically. You can do that in the moment where there's people surrounding you and you can't just slip away for 5 minutes and get your breathing under control. That solitude is still there. You can retreat back into yourself anytime you want in solitude. I do it all the time. It's very, very easy to do it. You just remind yourself, okay, whatever I'm going through right now, whatever anxiety is popping up and anxiousness and whatever fears are popping up, not going to work. I got this. Is it difficult? Extremely difficult. It takes a long time. I'm not a master at it. But I know I'm a lot better than I used to be. And I know I'm much better at handling situations now because of that. Because I know at any moment, if things get too big, if things get too loud, I can quiet everything without even having to leave the space I was in. Because I can retreat back and I know what I have. Be grateful that you're standing here. That's the easiest way to snap yourself back into reality. Because when you start to drift and things start feeling like they're getting out of control, you're just going to start piling up all the mistakes. You got to take a step back, detach, and say, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What could I do better? And what is out of my control? You got to take all that in and you say, okay, time to execute what I need to do. It's time to take action. We talked about in the last podcast, you don't say after you get that through your brain and you say, okay, I'm centered, what should I do? There is no should. Do something or don't do it. And make the decision. And stand on who you are. And most of the time, we're not perfect. So most of the time, you're going to be heading in the right direction. But people in life, a lot of people, they don't like the idea of them having to take action and be held accountable and own every single action that they have. So they do what? They mask it. They hide it. We try to do things that distracts us from having to take action. That's called procrastination because we're afraid to do something. So when you ask someone, how is life treating you, or how are you treating life? That's a very good way of getting into someone's mindset. Ask someone that randomly. It could be a family member, it could be a coworker, or a friend. Just ask them that. The next time someone says, hey, how you doing today? I'm doing great, thank you. How are you treating life? Look at their face and look how they react. It tells you a lot. I do it all the time now. And it's something that is starting to, just like when I started asking people, how are you feeling every day? Instead of how are you doing? They're not doing. They're feeling. I don't want to know how you're doing because that implies kind of what are you doing? I want to know how you feel. Because that is the most important part. What's inside of you? What you're doing in that is external. I want to know what's going on with you internally. How are you feeling? And that goes to the same thing with how are you treating life? I don't want to hear about all the things that are going wrong in your life. I want to hear about all the things that you're doing to make things right. How are you treating life? What are you doing to make things better for yourself? Not the other way around. This world should not be pushing you in different directions. You should be walking through every single moment in your life with self-confidence. If you want to know who you are, one of the greatest things you can do is retreat and get back on purpose. Get back to who you are. And you have to reflect and you have to dive into who you are. And you have to get what's inside of you outside, which is why journal writing is such a good tool, which is why talking to a coach or a friend or a mentor is so important. Because you don't want to hold all that in either. You don't go off in solitude and silence and then just keep on harboring the same feelings. You want to do something. Again, you always want to take what's internal and make it something physical, an action. Do something about it. Bring it into the world. Make it breathe. Make it alive. Give it birth. Give it a life. Give it a purpose. Whatever's inside of you, give it a purpose. If there's something you're thinking about and you want to say it, damn it, say it. And don't worry about what anyone else has to say about it. Because it's you. It's coming from you. If it's on your mind and it's in your heart, you can feel it in your body and you know it's coming from your soul. Why should you hold that in? Your responsibility is to figure out why you have let it be in for so long. And not only that, what are you going to do about it? Not what you should do about it. What are you going to do about it? Do something. Stop thinking about it. It was something I struggled with my entire life up until a few years ago. One of the most indecisive assholes you'll ever meet. And I blamed everyone for me not making the decisions properly for myself. I used to blame people. I used to say, why isn't anyone help me? Why don't I have what this person have? I tried this and it didn't work. I failed. Damn it, if I only had this and this person is holding me back. I would do that over and over and over again. And the only place I found myself at after doing stuff like that, I found myself alone. And then I would think, okay, I'm alone. Now what do I do? Well, you better start thinking. You better start figuring things out. Which led me to, okay, well, if I'm going to be alone anyway and have to figure all this shit out on my own anyway, why don't I just start doing that in the moment? Instead of waiting for everything to collapse on me. Instead of waiting for the people that I broke trust in to walk away from me. Instead of letting down all the people that were counting on me to be there for my obligations. I waited. I hesitated. I failed myself in those moments, and I have no one to blame but myself. It's called extreme ownership. Jocko Willink talks about this all the time. I highly recommend his book, Extreme Ownership, if you're interested in learning how to properly, in any situation, properly own what you are, who you are, what you're doing, and not compromising on that, making it self-discipline. To own up to who you are. And you can't do that if you don't know who you are. You have to start with some values. There's no point in retreating back into a mind that's clouded in darkness and hate and resentment and jealousy and revenge. You have to retreat back into something that's going to bring you peace and harmony and balance. Which is why I said earlier, this isn't easy. Retreating into your mind to solve your issues with peace, to solve your issues with purpose, it's hard to get there because you have to face some things first, and you have to fix some things first about yourself. And you have to be honest about it. And again, you have to put it in action. You can't just say, I should fix this about myself. No. Do it. You need to fix it now. You need to start working on it now. There is no waiting around for you fixing something in your life that you know is bothering you, that's in the back of your mind, that you don't feel comfortable about, that you have doubts about, that you don't trust yourself with. Every single one of those things will lead you down a path of uncertainty. And uncertainty, when you get in a crossroads moment, you have to make a big decision. Uncertainty will be the weapon you use against yourself to not accomplish what you really need to accomplish. That crossroads is going to turn into so many different pathways, and you're not going to know which direction to go in. And it's hard enough to trust yourself when you only have two paths, let alone all these other avenues that you're unsure about. You're going to find yourself lost. And we've all been there. We've all been in a place where we feel extremely, extremely lost. We're standing at the crossroads moment, and there's so many different ways we can go, and we don't have a fucking clue what to do. So what do? We do what's comfortable. We retreat. We retreat back into unhealthy habits, bad routines, toxic friendships and relationships, jobs with ceilings that are so low that even if you did raise up, you're just going to bump your head. You can't go any higher. We start putting clamps and restrictions on our humanity. We stop thinking about all the things that we're supposed to be doing, and we focus on all the things that we failed at. And we say, I don't want to feel that anymore. I'll settle for this person in a relationship. I don't want to work any harder and rise up to the ranks again in my job. I'll just stay here. You can't live life like that. Because in the back of your mind, even though you're telling yourself it's okay and that you'll move on and it'll be okay to just settle on this, and this person may change in the future, and this job, if my boss ever quits, I may get a raise. All these things that you talk about in life, all the things that we experience in life, all of the ups and downs, the roller coaster days, all of that stuff, you're just adding more and more and more onto your already troubled mind, your troubled heart, your troubled body, and your troubled soul. Now your job is to make sure that you don't keep adding on to that stuff. You got to start kicking shit out. It's time for you to open up the garage door and have a yard sale. It's time to get going, baby. You got to take all this stuff out, and you got to put it out and say, I don't even want any money for it. Take this shit. Just get rid of it. Dump it. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. Those are the things that are playing in the back of your mind. It's like a basement or a garage that a hoarder has filled up for you, for decades. Every day they're adding another useless item in there. And then when you need to go out there to get what you really need, you can't find shit. There's just too much stuff in there. It's overflowing. You can barely open up the garage door. You can barely get out of the basement. You're just flooded with all of this unnecessary things in your life that have no purpose. And furthermore, you have people who are adding on to it that don't even live with you. They're destroying your who you are. They're destroying what you love. You gotta open up that garage door, push everything out and say, take it. Take it, baby. I don't want it. Get this away from me. I got stuff to do. It's time to clean house. I want all of this junk out, and all the people who brought it in, you can go too. If you want the junk, you take it and go deal with it. I don't want it anymore. It's time for a change. Now, how about that? Time for a change. How do you know when it's time to change? How do you know when it's time to move on? How can you trust yourself enough to know that when it's time to move on, you're brave enough and courageous enough to actually follow through with it? Too many people talk about it. Not enough people actually follow through with it. So let's stop talking about following through with it and let's just do it. If you feel like something's bothering you, change it. Period. End of story. You owe no one an explanation. If it's coming from a place of self-love and you're standing on your values and you're aligned with that decision, it may be difficult for others, but that's not your problem. It may be looked upon as crazy. You don't know what you're doing. It's not your business to know or to care about what other people think of you. It's none of your business. When I had my awakening, one of the key elements into sustaining it and making sure that everything I wanted to change actually followed through into where I am now as a life coach, to be able to help people, to be able to confidently say, I'm ready to step out here and share my story and my experiences, and all that bad shit I went through, all the failures are now beneficial. They have weight and they have value, and I'm going to give it to people. And one of the things that got me to that spot was I had to detach and isolate myself. I had to jettison toxic people from my life. I had to leave the job that was going nowhere, that I wasn't happy with. I had to get all the knowledge that I felt like I didn't know. I had to change this body that I didn't recognize in the mirror. I had to get this revenge and jealousy and hatred out of my heart and start adding compassion and empathy and self-love. I didn't come to those conclusions because I thought it was something that was cool or trending. I didn't go to the county library and pick up a brochure that says how to change your life in 4 easy steps. That's not how it happened. It happened because I had to dive deep into who I am, day by day. Did I mess up along the way? Of course I did. Did I have times that I fell off and I didn't know what I was doing? Of course I did. Did I look dumb in a lot of situations? Of course I did. But if I didn't trust myself to do anything else, I could look back and say I trusted myself enough to know that I was better than that. And I found those answers in my silence and separating myself and saying, I have to work on these things. And it took me damn near 2 years of isolation. And what I mean by isolation is I go to work, I do the things that I need to do, but anything that is considered a distraction, anything that wasn't aligned with my purpose, anything that could take away from my happiness, any toxic person, any negative thing in my life, I said, I can control that. That shit I can't control. I don't have to have one negative thing in my life if I don't want to. I know I'm supposed to succeed. I know I'm supposed to have success in life. It's my birthright. Everybody is born with that. But everyone wants it to land on their lap from the helicopter that flies overhead and drops supplies down. And everyone gets a crate. You open up the crate and it has everything you need in there for a perfect life. Free of charge, by the way. Compliments of taxpayers. You don't have to do anything but just walk over to the crate, open it up, and take what you need and walk off, and your life's better. That's why people want to win the lottery so damn bad. But you're going to feel unfulfilled because you know and everyone else around you knows you didn't earn it. And there's nothing worse in the world to look at someone who hasn't earned anything and are smiling cheek to cheek and they have everything. That's their life. You don't have time to worry about that. You have to figure out who you are. You got to quiet that mind. You got to step away and detach and get some solitude and figure out A, B, and C as efficiently as you possibly can. By reminding yourself of what you've already accomplished and what you are striving for. You have to look ahead. Those flags of hope are still out there, but you just don't want to go on hope. Those are guidelines. Hope are guidelines. It's what shows you there is more ahead of you. But by no means can hope actually help you get to where you want to go. You have to actually get to those flags of hope that you see on the horizon. No one's going to put you inside of a chair and roll you up the volcano and over it. You have to start doing this stuff yourself. You have to start diving in to who you are and treating it as if it's the most valuable possession you've ever had and you ever will have. And that's just a fact. Your life is the most valuable thing you will ever have to deal with in life. From day to day, your responsibility. It's your responsibility to raise the value of your life. It's your responsibility to take accountability and ownership of your actions or lack thereof. It's your responsibility to listen and to understand others if you want them to be in your life. To not just take, and start learning how to give. It's your responsibility to be comfortable looking yourself in the mirror every day. It's your responsibility to find a path of peace, purpose, and joy for yourself. To stand on the values that will bring you self-love and self-respect, self-control. That will give you the self-confidence to walk forward and say, I deserve what I get. I don't have to apologize for anything. I've earned it. And everyone else has seen that I've earned it. And I want to bundle this up, and I do want to give someone a gift of someone who deserves it. But you're not giving them a freebie. You're giving them knowledge and experience, and you're giving them a helping hand to say, hey, I expect you to do the same in the future. Nothing is for free. Nothing is for free. But your silence and your solitude is. You can go there free of charge anytime you want. And you need to silence everything. You need to listen. Make it self-discipline. Learn how to love yourself in silence. Learn how to trust yourself in silence. It's not awkward. It's not uncomfortable. It's just you breathing. It's you being alive. It's you standing in your purpose. It's you being aligned with the values that you've created for yourself. It's you unapologetically moving forward as the person you are now. And saluting the person you're going to be in the future. That is your duty in life. That is your birthright. That is your purpose. To be the best you possible. That version of you exists. Silence the mind. Believe and listen to yourself. It's all there. You just have to listen for it. Your mission for today is to think of ways you can fall back into your version of solitude whenever you need to. And that can be simply while you're sitting in a room full of people, retreating into your own mind and silencing out the noise, essentially detaching. So it's a continuation of the detachment podcast, where you detach, retreat to silence and solitude, where you will find your peace. You'll find your joy and your purpose through gratitude and self-love of yourself. Think of ways you can do that. Start immediately trying to figure out how you can do that in real time. Practice detaching when you're doing something that is got a lot of distractions around you, a lot of things that will lead you towards not getting the stuff you need to get done. How do you break away from that potentially negative situation? How do you break away from that, retreat into your positive and your peace, and start moving forward from there? Taking those deep breaths, being mindful that you are here now. So that's your mission. Your mission is to start getting that as a discipline for yourself, a routine, a pattern. When you start feeling like trouble's coming, or you're already in it, start practicing the ways you can detach. What do you need to do to detach? What does that mean for you? What are the things you can say to yourself? What questions you can ask yourself to get you out of that moment and into your peace? What are those questions? What can you do in silence when it's just you and you? That's your mission. This is your day. You are here now. These are your moments. You own them. You are brave, bold, powerful. You do believe in yourself. You know you have more in the tank. You know the glass is half full. There is still more room for improvement. There is no end. Believe, believe, believe in yourself. You do believe in yourself. You do believe you can do whatever it takes to get the job done. You don't procrastinate. You don't embellish. You don't lie. You're true to yourself. Peace is in your mind. Peace is in your heart. Peace is in your body. It is definitely in your soul. You are greatness. You have purpose. Intentful purpose. You are here for a reason. You are ambitious. You are loving. You are kind, empathetic, compassionate. You are self-love. You have self-control, self-respect. You are joy, peace, freedom, happiness. You are connected to everything in this world and in this universe. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Learn, laugh, and level up.